Hello, and welcome to Constuctivism with Kylie. Anyways, I know that Marcus has already introduced to you this idea of constructivism, and you've done an activity now, or two, and now I would like to talk a little bit more about the different principles that make up constructivism. So I'm going to minimize myself so you can see the slideshow. Alrighty. Clients are agents. Counseling is not done to them, but it is done by them. The counselor helps them to figure it out, helps them to reorganize themselves, but we are not the ones causing them to, or making them change. They're the ones changing themselves. And this is a really important part of constructivism because it's a strength-based perspective. We view clients as being able to help themselves. And I apologize in advance, I'm out of breath. That's one of the reasons why I'm not here, is I have been having a hard time with breathing. Anyways, despite the fact, another part of constructivism is that we have this idea that people view themselves based upon their realities and their perceptions. And this reality may have been created by whatever has gone on in their life. It's from their own experiences. So a large part of that is how their development was and how, you know what I mean? It's how they have experienced life, which can be based off of history, and it can be based off of culture. It can be based off of a lot of things. So, for example, a person is depressed only when they adopt the definition of self as depressed. So that means that once that idea of yourself has been adopted, then a person may have a really hard time seeing behaviors that counteract that. So a person who has developed this idea of depression will have a hard time seeing when they have a good day because all they can think about is, well, I can't have a good day because I'm depressed. That's my view of self. And so they often view things in a negative way because they can't view it any other way. And lastly, like we have said many times before, I'm sure at this point, is our stories represent truth to the person who is telling it. Our perception and our reality, that's the truth to us. And it may not be the truth to somebody else, but it is the truth to that person at that time, to the individual who is telling that story or experiencing that story. And so, to go along with that, do you remember this guy from the activity? And when you guys were asked to answer the questions, with his it was, what kind of education do you have? And so a person may look at his picture and say, well, I think, well, in my life, all the cowboys I know only have a high school education, or they dropped out, or they're hicks, or whatever. Because to that person, that's their experiences. So I happen to know this individual. He's actually my grandpa, and he has a master's of education, and he has been a teacher for many, many years. He is also a cowboy, and he loves his horses. And in the summer, when he's not teaching, he is doing guided tours through Yellowstone, and that's just another part of his life. So to me, when I see a cowboy, I may think that they have a PhD or a master's, because I know that my grandpa and all my uncles, who are all also cowboys, are all very highly educated as well. But to somebody else who has never met somebody like him, it may be a totally different story. It's just based off of our experiences. We interpret things based off our own reality. Oop, am I covering up something? Oh, no, just kidding. Anyways, there are 5 themes. Sorry, I get uncomfortable, so I might move around a lot. Sorry if I make you dizzy. There are 5 things that seem to be found in constructivism. And the first one is active agents. Clients are active agents, and they should be seen as active agents because we are the participants in our own lives. We are the ones that are acting in our lives, and our decisions affect our lives. We act on and in the world. We are not passive. And another part is we love order. Humans need order. There's a reason why babies and children thrive off of schedule and order, because it decreases anxiety, it decreases stress. And the way we respond is we organize our world, and then we respond to that order. The way we view the world is how we have organized it. And there's certain values and certain priorities that are going to be more important to one person than the other. And it's just all based on how they've ordered it. And because of this, it's what makes it so hard for us to change when something is going wrong or we have a problem in our life, is because it becomes habitual. The way we react to a specific experience becomes a habit, and our feelings and our thoughts and our emotions all become tied to the way we react to it, making it very difficult to change. And it's also important to recognize that emotions play a huge role in how we order ourselves and order our lives. And we learn to react to a particular situation, and we will continue to do it even if it's causing us a ton of pain. It is really important that we pay attention to those emotions. Not feeling emotions and fighting those emotions can be a serious threat to a person's well-being. All right. So we organize ourselves based on the world, like we said before. And counseling is a form of self-organization. The counselor helps a person to reorganize themselves. This is done through questioning, such as, you know what I mean, lots of questions, because that's what we do. Just kidding, we're not supposed to ask a lot of questions, but anyways, the self is also socially influenced, and we are never a complete representation at any one point. We're constantly changing. Kind of like that quote at the beginning, you can never step in the same river twice. We are constantly being involved in different realities and experiences that change who we are on a day-to-day basis. And another example of this idea of the self and organizing the world by how we organize ourselves is, let's say there's a client and he's experiencing severe anxiety. Mm-hmm. And so he views himself as needing to be perfect all the time. And that when he does not achieve the specific level of perfection, he is not good enough. And he may be successful and he may do everything right, but if it is not perfect and it is not exactly how he wants it to be, then it is a huge mistake and it is a failure. This person also has a really hard time delegating to other people because they view others as being lazy or incapable of doing the right thing. And so it appears that this anxious person not only has this view of themselves as being imperfect and lazy, they also view others that way too, because that's how they have organized themselves. Well, it looks like I'm covering up a few words. So another thing is social symbolic relatedness. And this means that we have different words and meanings that are more familiar to us. And so that's how when we view something new or unfamiliar, we're going to interpret it in a way that is most familiar to us. We're going to use words and meanings and values that we have already experienced. So this is something that we did with the activity earlier. You went through and you looked at those pictures and you recognized and you interpreted them based off of your own experiences. Another part of this is we relate through story making. If you recall conversations with your friends or with other people, you often tell stories and you try to relate through with each other through those stories. All right, lastly is lifespan development. And that's partially why Piaget was a big part of the development of this approach, is because a lot of it is based off of our development, our attachment history, the way that we were raised, the ways that we grew up. And it's all about how we have developed our what is the word? Schemas? Whatever. You know what I mean. Remember back. And anyways, our development is what helps us to shape our rules and our values and our expectations for interacting with the environment. And so when a change is happening, sometimes it's a huge leap. And we wake up one morning and we say, you know what? I'm going to stop smoking tomorrow. And you change. Sometimes it's gradual. Sometimes you have to take medication for it. You have to get counseling for it. And there's all these little steps you have to take in order to get to that change. And what happens when we're in that change process is it causes us to be rigid and disorganized for a while. Hence the need for counseling. It helps us to reorganize ourselves once again. And a big part of constructivism is offering compassion and hope so that we can reorganize ourselves and our clients. All right. Oops. I don't want to record this again, so you're just going to have to live with my mistakes. All right. So there are a lot of perspectives that go along with the constructivist approach. So there's solution-focused brief therapy, narrative therapy, collaborative language systems approach, solution-oriented therapy, different than solution-focused, and feminist therapy right underneath me there. And for the most part, however, solution-focused brief therapy and narrative therapy are most often used in group counseling when it comes to constructivism. And so those are the two that we're going to focus on. Okay, so constructivism in group. How does it work exactly? Well, the group environment allows members to experience their competency. And so what that means is it gives this area for people to meet together and to talk about the things that they're doing right and to help each other discover strengths and our abilities and our solutions to problems. And when you're in that group, it's important that realities are honored and accepted. And so one thing to help group members to understand that everyone has a different reality, everyone has a different perspective is kind of like you could do that activity that we did before with the pictures or with art or with whatever it is to help others realize that we all have different perceptions. And a huge part of constructivism is realizing that people are not the problem is the problem, which is called externalization. And so recognizing that a person may have a problem, but they are not the problem is not a part of them. And group members help each other to find their strengths and their personal resources. I keep forgetting to. There we go. Oh, I guess I can use the mouse. Okay, so since I'm community counseling, some of the different groups that are often involved in that are anger management groups, grief counseling groups, and career counseling groups. So, for example, in an anger management group, a lot of that stuff is they help each other to see others' perceptions, because a lot of their rage and their frustration is taken out on others because they don't understand their perceptions or they don't understand their realities. And another part is helping them to externalize their anger, calling it something else like Fluffy or my race car. When my race car is going really fast, then I want to hit something, whatever it may be. I have some examples later that may be handed out from practicum that we use in group counseling with our anger management group that use this idea of externalizing the problem, which is a constructivist approach. Another part is grief counseling groups, and one of the big parts of that is we're helping individuals reorganize themselves after their loss, because part of their identity was based off of this person, and so now that person's gone. And so helping them to reorganize that part of themselves that's not missing. And another part is career counseling groups. So anyways, I'm going to leave you at this point because the next part is school counseling groups, which Marcus is going to tell you more about. Thanks.